All right, at the top of the show, I played this audio. I want you to listen again.
Some people may say this is too idealistic, but what other choice do we have? At least we have to try. We may fail, and next generations or even we ourselves will have to pay the price for our failure. At least we should try.
It's exactly what George Soros said a decade ago. This is the head of the World Economic Forum. His name is Klaus Schwab. What he called idealistic and what they had to try was later echoed by Prince Charles via the World Economic Forum back in June. Listen.
We have a golden opportunity to seize something good from this crisis. Its unprecedented shockwaves may well make people more receptive to big visions of change. And global crises like pandemics and climate change know no borders and highlight just how interdependent we are as one people sharing one planet.
Let's not forget that his favorite uncle sided with the Nazis. This idealistic and golden opportunity, I wonder, what could they mean? Well, we now know a little bit. Much of their planning is still hush-hush. It'll no doubt be fully revealed at the next year's Davos summit in January. But bits of information are now starting to come out. For one, the theme of the meeting is going to be called the Great Reset. Not the Great Restart, the Great Reset. And that is important. It's because that was the plan the entire time. The economic V was a lie from the beginning. Climate change gave them a path, a handbook, if you will, on how to seize control of private businesses and place control in the hands of the state. The coronavirus gave them the means to finally get it done. From their own website, and I quote, "To achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies." This is what's happening in our streets right now. From education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country from the United States to China must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism. Keep in mind, this is all being done under the guise of protecting the environment, keeping us safe from viruses, and making things better. So what does social contracts, working conditions, social justice, and capitalism have to do with any of that? Well, this is what they were revealing before any of the working papers even came out. I'll get to those in just a second, but they've already shown what their golden opportunity looks like. Tax regulations, fiscal policy, a stakeholder economy, which is what I showed you earlier, progressive capitalism. It also includes wealth taxes, ending oil and gas subsidies, fairness, and, quote, building green urban infrastructure and creating incentives for industries to improve their track record on environment, social, and governance metrics. Oh yeah, the Great Reset also means fighting racism and social justice. Because why not? This is insanity. This is a war. It's a war on freedom. And if I would have reported this without any of the documentation, I would have been called a lunatic, most likely even from you. You'd call me a conspiracy theorist. But listen to the WEF produced podcast with their leader, Klaus Schwab.
So what does all this mean for the respective roles of government and business? After decades since the 1980s of Thatcher and Reagan, when the orthodoxy in much of the West was that smaller government and free markets were best, we are now seeing the return of government.
What we have seen was kind of, how shall I say, dominance of business in global affairs in the last, at least in the last 2 decades. Now this is balancing out. We have the return of government even taking participation in companies, in any case touching conditions, safeguarding measures. It's necessary to have a very open approach.
It's difficult for me to stomach, opening up, vilifying Reagan and Thatcher, and then having it done by a German who's talking about some sort of socialist plan, big governments, and the merger with private companies. I'm sorry, but in their argument, they are at least appearing to be making a criticism of crony capitalism. But how do you think capitalism turns to cronyism? By involving the government. The government puts the crony in capitalism, and their solution is to do it even more? What they propose is to turn crony capitalism into national or global socialism. This is from another one of their publications just last month. Quote, societies could be poised to become either more equitable or the opposite, geared towards more solidarity or greater individualism. Well, America has always been on the side of individualism. In other words, everything that has made our country the most powerful, prosperous, and generous nation this planet has ever seen now must be destroyed. How does this make any sense? How is America not talking about this? American individualism is the reason we are exceptionalists. It now needs to be changed. Even I don't know anything about sports, but when the Bulls wanted to get rid of, what was his name, Phil Jackson, and break up Michael Jordan's team, they won 6 championships. Whose bright idea? Even Glenn Beck knows, let's go in another direction. That's not a good idea. If you think all of this sounds completely nuts, consider all of the people that are part of the World Economic Forum. The economic winds shift every time they get together. I want to read you a quote. And I want to say, loud and clear, the best memorial we can build to those who have lost their lives in this pandemic is to build a world that is greener, smarter, and fairer, end quote. That was said in solidarity with the WEF and the Great Reset Project by the managing director of the International Monetary Fund. The irony of the IMF support with this is really interesting. They were created at the Bretton Woods Conference in the 1940s. It completely reshaped the global monetary system and put America in the driver's seat. If they would have published their ideas before the conference, I'm sure people all over the world would have said, no, I don't think so. And they would have called people commenting on that and saying, hey, this is what they're going to do in New Hampshire with Bretton Woods. They all would have been called conspiracy theorists. But guess what? The new Bretton Woods 2.0 is scheduled to take place in January in Davos. What else can you call it? Well, maybe this. A brave new world.